right, I'm Casey Mullen. I'm gonna be going through the SFMA midterm. I do have a list right over here. It's just of the A through F, so I can remember them. But anyways, let's get started. First, we're gonna do the passive lumbar lock test. So if you'll get on your hands and knees and then drop your forearms, slide those down and lean back. So here we're just testing her T-spine. So if you'll bring this arm to your low back, perfect. And I'm just going to basically do a bicep curl while supporting her with my hip and arm over here. And I'm just going to bend you up. And we're seeing if she can get to that 50 degrees, which she feels pretty restricted. So let's do this side. All right, same thing. Relax here. Good. And we're just seeing, can she get to that 50 degrees? So she's definitely not getting to that on each side. Any pain?
No.
All right, so I would say she's D in there. So next we're going to go to the prone elbow test. So if you will stay in position, but pull your feet out, perfect. So here we're essentially just unlocking her lumbar spine. And we're going to do the same thing. So if you can put your arm on your lower back, all right, and then just. And here we want to see if she can get to 30 degrees. And she feels pretty restricted on both sides, or on that side as well. So let's see about this side. Yeah, she's not quite getting to that 30 degrees on either side either. So any pain?
No.
So I would say D in. The next one's gonna be the stabilized straight leg raise. So if you'll flip to your back. So this one, if she wasn't able to get to 70 degrees of hip flexion in the active straight leg raise, we would jump to this to make sure, is it a hip mobility issue, or is she actually having a pelvic positioning issue or core stabilization issue? So we would go ahead and see if she can has a drastic difference in that 70 degrees. So with here, can you bring up both of your knees? So just slightly bend them. And then bring your hands up over your head. So with this, I'm just going to be feeling for her core to make sure that it's activated and being utilized throughout this movement. And also, we want to make sure she doesn't have a posterior pelvic tilt, so just relax that. And I'm just going to push on you. All right, I want you to push into your arm, or to my arm. Perfect. Push, 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 push. Okay, now drop each leg one at a time. All right, now just raise one at a time, please. Okay. Push, push. All right, so here, relax. We're seeing if she can get to the 70 degrees. So if there was a drastic difference with the stabilized straight leg raise, we would think that she's having more of a core stabilization issue rather than a hip mobility. However, she was able to do it just fine. I'm still thinking that she has a little bit of mobility going on. The next one we're going to do is passive straight leg raise. So with this one, if we did think she had a hip mobility issue and she wasn't able to really get to that 70 degrees actively, we would go ahead and compare it to the passive straight leg raise. So with this, I'm just going to stabilize her leg and then bring her up, and we want to see if she can get to at least 80 degrees. And that's where she's kind of stopping on me. So did you have any pain with that?
No.
All right. Relax all the way for this one. And again, we want to see if she can get to that 80 degrees. And I'm starting to feel a little restriction here. Relax, relax. Any pain with that?
No.
Alrighty. So she did pretty well there. She was almost at 90 degrees, so that looked fine. And again, we would just be comparing active versus passive to see if it's actually a hip mobility issue. The next one we're going to do is stabilized Faber. So with this one, we would go ahead and see if she's having SI hip mobility versus core stabilization again. So what we would do is I'm going to put you into this position, flexion, abduction, external rotation. You'll bring your arms up like this. And I'm just going to kind of stabilize her and make sure her abdomen is being contracted and stabilize her with my knee. I'm going to pull you up and push into my arms. All right, are you having any pain?
No.
And here we want to make sure that she also doesn't have that posterior pelvic tilt going on and that her abdomen is contracted. I'm going to let you go. And I'm going to see if her knee would drop more. So if her knee did drop more, that would be positive, and that would mean she's probably having more of a core stabilization. If it didn't drop more, then we would have to, do some more testing to see if it's actually hip mobility. So the next one we're going to do here, and you would do that bilaterally. I'll go ahead and perform that. So bring your hands up. Alrighty, I'm just going to stabilize you and push into my hands. Push, 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 push. Any pain?
No.
Alright, so I'll let her relax. And her knee's not even close to touching the table. I would go ahead and say she would be DN, so no pain but dysfunctional. The next one we're going to do is passive upper extremity 1 and passive upper extremity 2. So with this, you would do the lumbar lock test passively and actively to test her T-spine, but I'm just going to kind of jump over that for the sake of time. So if you'll flip over for me, we're going to first test her range of motion on her shoulders, and then we're going to go into the proper movements for it. So for upper extremity 1, we're going to touch her opposite inferior angle of the scapula. So if you just relax all the way, And I'm just going to bring her and have her touch it. Did that hurt at all?
No.
Alright, next, and we would do that bilaterally for the next, for the sake of time, I'm gonna show you on this side instead of hopping around. So for upper extremity 1, we're gonna be testing internal rotation, extension, and then elbow flexion. So for internal rotation, I'm gonna bring her elbow up, and we wanna see if she can get to at least 60 degrees here. So, and let me know if you have any pain, okay?
Okay.
Any pain?
No.
Alright, so then I'm gonna go to extension, and she looked good there. And see if she can get to 50 degrees here. You have any pain here?
No.
And she's doing great there. And then the last one's gonna be elbow flexion with the humerus slightly off the table here. And we're gonna see if she can touch her thumb to her shoulder. Any pain?
No.
Alrighty. So, next we would do, I'll just stay on this side, upper extremity 2. So, passively, so again, we would do lumbar lock test to test the T-spine, and then we would jump into the shoulder, which is what I'm gonna show you now. So first we need to test range of motion for upper extremity pattern 2. So if you'll dangle your arm off, and I'm just gonna passively move her into the top tier assessment to test her range of motion. She's gonna touch the opposite spine of her scapula. So just relax, and I'm gonna bring her elbow up and touch. Did you have any pain with that?
No.
And again, I would do that bilaterally and make sure she has that full range of motion before we continue. Next, I would do passive external rotation, flexion, abduction, and then elbow flexion with the humerus flat. And for this, really you only do the passive if they aren't able to complete it actively. So external rotation, I'm just gonna kind of hold her shoulder here. And you let me know if you have any pain, okay?
Okay.
You have any pain?
No.
And again, we wanna see her get at least 90 degrees, which she was able to do. Then we're gonna do abduction flexion, so I'm gonna bring your arm right here. I'm gonna abduct you and then flex you over your head. Any pain?
No.
And that should be about 170 degrees of that flexion. And the last one's gonna be elbow flexion, but we're gonna have the humerus flat on the table here, and I'm just gonna see if you can touch your thumb to your shoulder, which looks great. You feel good? You okay with that? Yes. Alrighty. And I think she looks fine there, so I would say FN, and that is all of them. Now we're gonna do the top tier assessment. So, I'm just gonna run through this really quickly. I'm gonna ask you if it's pain or no pain, and then we'll move on. So first we're gonna start with cervical flexion. So I just want you to bring your chin to your chest and try to touch it. So here we're looking for that nice uniform spinal curve and no like rickety movements. No pain?
Mm-hmm.
All right, so that's FN. Next we're gonna do extension. So I just want you to take your head and extend it far back as you can. Any pain?
No.
Alrighty. And that would be FN as well. We wanted to see if she can get to 80 degrees or 10 degrees from parallel, which that looked great. Next, we're going to do rotation. So I'm going to have an imaginary line right here in her mid-clavicular region, and I want to see if her nose and her chin can pass that line on each side. So we're looking for that 80 degrees frontal rotation. So just turn your head as far as you can go on each side. Alrighty. Alright, that looks pretty good. Any pain?
No.
I would say FN for that as well. The next one we're going to do is upper extremity 1. Top tier. So with this, I'm just going to have her reach behind her back and touch the opposite inferior angle of her scapula. So, good. Alrighty, any pain?
No.
Alright, and then the other side for me right here. Any pain?
No.
So we are looking for a couple things here. Is she having too much excessive radial deviation? Is she hiking up a shoulder when she leans back? Also, is she having excessive winging in her scapula? She had a little bit, but that's normal. So I would go and say that's FN2. Her movements weren't super choppy or anything like that. Next, we're going to do upper extremity pattern 2. So I'm just going to have her reach. So you're going to reach her up above your head and then touch your opposite spine of the scapula. Just like that. Perfect. And then the other side for me. Are you having any pain with that?
No.
Alrighty. I would say she's FN for this one as well. We're really just looking, is she hiking up a shoulder? Is she able to get to that 170 degrees? Nice smooth movements, no pain, no dropping her head. So that looked really good. FN. Next, we're going to go into multi-segmental flexion. So for this one, I just want you to watch your toes the entire time, and I just want you to do a toe touch. So just watch your toe, yep, just like that. And I'm looking for that uniform spinal curve, so you can see her having a little bit of a hump here. 70 degrees with that sacral involvement, also posterior weight shift. Do you have any pain?
No.
Alrighty, I would say FN for that. Looked pretty good. And then next we're going to do multi-segmental extension. So I just want you to bring your arms up to your ears and then lean back as much as you can. So can she perform this with her shoulder, or her shoulder staying at that 170 degrees of flexion throughout the movement? Uniform spinal curve, which she's dumping pretty bad in her lower cervical or thoracic, excuse me. Also, can she get her ASIS over the front of her toes and also the spine of her scapula is behind her, her heels. Any pain with that?
Yes, my lower back.
A little bit.
Mhm.
So she's having pain in her lower back. So I would definitely say this is DP. So you are dysfunctional and you are having pain. The next one we're going to do is multi-segmental rotation. So for this one, you're just going to look straight. I want you to turn as far as you can on each side. Okay. So here I'm looking for 50 to 50 degree ratio right here. So 1 to 1. We want to see 50 degrees in the pelvis of rotation and 50 degrees in the shoulders or thoracic region. Do this side again for me. So right here, she's kind of turning her upper body way before her pelvis. So I would say she's a little bit dysfunctional on that left side. Her right side's definitely no pain. FN. This side I would say would be DN. So next we are going to do the single leg stance, everyone's favorite. So for this one, you are just going to pick up your foot just enough to where it doesn't touch the ground and just hold that for 10 seconds. Alrighty. So we're looking for a few things here. As soon as her head bobbles or drops, we're automatically gonna say that's dysfunctional. You can drop that. Go to the other side. Any pain?
No.
Okay, I would say that's FN. Also, we want to see is she tensing up? Is she swaying a lot? Anything like that? Also, we wanted to turn around and look for any Trendelenburg sign. Her hip is kind of so right here that does look a little dysfunctional. So that could be a weak glute medius that we would have to address. Now we're going to do it with your eyes closed. So go ahead and get in that position and then close your eyes whenever you're ready. So here we do account for about 50% more swaying with this movement. All right, you can drop it. So I would say she's dysfunctional, and that side, any pain?
No.
You can drop. So I would say DN on both of those. Last one's going to be the deep down arch squat. So on this, we're looking for that flexion extension of both the hip and the knees, dorsiflexion of the ankle, as well as her lower extremities staying in that mid-sagittal plane, and just a nice smooth movement. So you're going to go into a deep or descend into a squat. So just drop into a squat. Alrighty. So she can't drop all the way. You can stand. She can't really drop all the way, so I would say, if you have no pain, DN. Alright, so after that, we're going to jump into the multi-segmental extension. So since you are having so much of that pain on the extension movement, I'm thinking that's kind of what we need to address here. So yeah, let's do the multi-segmental extension breakout. So let's get into a press up. Alright. And you did say you were having back pain when you extended, right? Here in her lower cervicals. Alright, so multi-segmental extension breakout, press up. We're looking at that nice uniform spinal curve. See how far her hips or ASIS are coming off the table, so 2.5 inches or more. Like I said, she's really dumping in that lower lumbar region. Alright, let's get into the lumbar lock position. So with the multi-segmental extension breakout, perfect, forearms and then lean back. We break it up into the upper extremity and spine, and then we're going to do lower extremity. So if you will put your arm on your lower back, all right, turn to the left, please, your face, and then look up for me. And can she get to 50 degrees? So you can see here she's not really, she didn't get much at all right there. So I'm going to do it passively, so just look down and relax. And again, she's just not really wanting to budge. So we're going to go ahead and check the opposite side. So lower back, perfect, look that way, and then look up for me. And again, not quite getting that 50 degrees. And just not really wanting to move. So bilaterally, she's having some T-spine mobility issues. Let's get into the prone elbow. So keep your forearms just like that, but you're going to kick both of your legs flat. Perfect. And so now we're going to check this left side again. So put your arm on your lower back for me, please. Look to your left and then look up. And here we want to see if she can get to at least 30 degrees, which she's not quite making it either. Let's see if she can do it passively. Are you having any pain?
No.
I would say she's definitely still having some restrictions. Alright, same thing, look to the right, look up for me. 30 degrees, not quite making it. Now I'm going to do this passively. She has a little more movement on this right side with it passively, but I would still say she's dysfunctional bilaterally with her mobility. So like I said, she's essentially just unlocking this lumbar spine and she's still not quite making it on that rotation. So it's making me think she's having some mobility issues, in thoracics and lumbars. Next we're gonna do, just check her shoulder flexion real quick. So if you'll just like come to the side of the table and, yep, just throw your arm off the table. And I want you to just raise it up over your head. Oh, yeah, the table's annoying. Perfect, just like that. Any pain?
No.
Alrighty, and let's do the other side. And we're seeing if she can just get that 170 degrees which looks great. All right, so now that we've done that, let's go ahead and jump into the lower extremity. So if you will flip to your back, and we're gonna start out with the active Faber. So that is going to feel like this, and you're gonna do it yourself. I'm just gonna show you the movement, okay? So we're flexing, abducting, and externally rotating. Okay, so can you do that yourself for me? Alrighty, do you have any pain?
No.
About ready this?
No.
Not really? Okay. So right here we're just seeing, how far is her knee from touching that table, which is pretty far. Let's check the other side. So can you do that same movement with this side? Alright. You having any pain with this?
No.
Alrighty. So like I said, pretty far again. So now since I do see that she is having a little bit of range of motion problems right here, we're gonna go ahead and do the stabilized Faber, and what that is gonna tell us, if her knee is able to drop a little bit more while using her core, then we're thinking, okay, maybe it was a core stabilization issue. And that would be a positive sign for this test. So, we're gonna go ahead and do this side. Will you bring both your hands up like this for me? Again, we want her core activated. We don't wanna see a huge posterior pelvic tilt. And I'm just gonna stabilize you right here, make sure that you're activated. And I want you to push into my hands. Push, push. We're just gonna hold that. Are you having any pain or anything? No. All right, we're gonna hold that. And then we're gonna let it drop and see if her knee drops any further, which, as you can see here, it didn't drop much at all. So I am thinking that maybe you are having more of a hip SI mobility issue rather than her abdominals. Let's check the other side. Okay. Oop, I'll do it for you. You're okay. All right, so arms up. I'm just gonna stabilize you right here. All right, push, push. Okay. And I'm gonna let you drop. Alrighty, and like I said, just like the other side, she's not really dropping much on this side, so I would go ahead and think that she's having hip mobility issues over here rather than core. Let's go ahead and jump to the modified Thomas test, and we're gonna check that extension. Alright, so with this, you're just gonna sit down at the very edge of the table, and when you lean back, bring your knees to your chest. Perfect, and now I'm just gonna drop your leg off the table. We're looking for that 0 degrees of extension here, and then 90 degrees of that knee flexion, which this looks pretty good. Are you having any pain?
No.
Her lumbar and pelvis is nice and relaxed. Let's stand up and do it again. And I'm gonna check your opposite side. Yep. And bring your knees to your chest. Perfect. And I'm gonna stabilize you here. And again, she looks good over here. All right, so you can stand up for me. The last thing we're gonna check is, sorry, I'm like running around. If you'll get on your stomach for me, we're gonna check for her hip extension, active and passive. So if we did think she was having a true mobility issue, we're gonna go ahead and compare active and passive extension here. All right, so if you'll just raise this leg up as far as you can, and we're seeing, can she get her femur, all right, you can drop it. Can she get her femur up 10 degrees without using her lumbar spine? And right here, she definitely was not able to do that. Her lumbar spine came off pretty early. So now I'm gonna do it passively. So I'm gonna kind of reach under her ASIS and the distal portion of her femur, and I'm just gonna raise it for you, just relax. Alrighty, and again, her lumbar spine's coming off way too early. Let's do this side. Raise it for me. Alrighty, and both sides of her lumbar spine are coming off the table with that one. Actually, now we're gonna do it passively. So again, I'm gonna reach under your ASIS, grab the distal portion, and just relax. Alright, you're good. So I would definitely say she's having more of a mobility issue. She could use some core strengthening for sure, but definitely hip mobility. She's pretty restricted bilaterally in her T-spine and in her lumbar spine, and even again with the hip extension. So yeah, we'll work on it.
Thank you.